Good. Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Ayin Zayin in Nadarim. Just about 2 weeks left to finish Nadarim Mirz Hashem. Right from the top of the page, Tanan Hossam. We learned in Mesechet Shabbos as follows: Mafir Nadarim b'Shabbos. We've learned already that that a Talmud Chacham, what they call she'ela, asking a Talmud Chacham to be mater neder hatar Nadarim. That's by a Talmud Chacham or either a bezdin of 3, a pshutim, or even 1 Talmud Chacham, 1 mumcha. And hafaras nadarim is of the father or husband breaking his wife's nadarim. So we said that the Mishnah over there says mafir nadarim b'Shabbos. Husband can even break the nadarim. We say husband or either father can break it even on Shabbos. V'nish'olam nadarim she'en tzarich Shabbos. Can you she'ela means going to a Talmud Chacham hatar nadarim? That's only if it's l'tzarich Shabbos. Meaning to say, it sounds like hafaras nadarim that a husband can break his neder. Is that only if it's a Shabbos? So let's say it was related, nothing to do with Shabbos. She said she's never going to go to the gym again. The gym is forbidden to her, something like that. She doesn't go on Shabbos anyway. So can he break that kind of an neder on Shabbos? Or that's the Gemara is going to raise this question. It said over there that you can break the nadarim on Shabbos. A husband can break his wife's nadarim on Shabbos. But you cannot be mater neder on Shabbos with the Talmud Chacham only if it's l'tzarich Shabbos, if it's necessary for Shabbos, that Shabbos itself, not if it's for something that took place later on. So
the father of the husband can just break it by saying,
I break it. He has to say mufalach, I break it. But can he only break things that are necessary for Shabbos, or could he even break things that are necessary for Wednesdays? Let's say she goes to the gym every Wednesday and she forbids the gym. You can't have any enough from the gym.
And he could have waited till the next day.
But he can't wait. You have to break it that day that he heard about it. That's the question. That's our problem. Iboilahu. Mafir nadarim b'Shabbos, l'tzarich Shabbos. This that you say you can even break nadarim on Shabbos. That's only if it's l'tzarich Shabbos. But if it's for Wednesday, no. Oh, Dilma, I feel shol l'tzarich. No, what do you say? No, that even if it's not l'tzarich Shabbos, hataras nadarim that you go to Talmud Chacham, that's only you can only do it on Shabbos if it's l'tzarich Shabbos. You can't do it. You're not going to like Bezin won't sit in session, so to speak, if it's on Shabbos to be mater neder if it's not l'tzarich Shabbos. So clearly, the Mishnah said Nishol Nadarim She'en Tzarich Shabbos. You can only be mater neder Talmud Chacham hatar nadarim only if it's on Shabbos, only if it's tzarich Shabbos. But what about hafaras nadarim? Hafaras nadarim that a husband can do. You say it says mafir nadarim b'Shabbos. Hatar nadarim you only do if it's tzarich Shabbos. Hafaras nadarim you do on Shabbos. Period. Is that also only if it's a tzarich Shabbos? Or Shabbos, as you say, since you only have that day to do it. So what if it's what if the issue is on the neder will affect something that's on Tuesday or Wednesday, but show me he only has that day. So that's the question that he raises here. Or you could say no, even though it's you don't have a chance to do it the next day, but if it's not l'tzarich Shabbos, you can't do it. It says the Mishnah says you could break the nadarim on Shabbos. Hafaras nadarim is on Shabbos. Hafaras nadarim, the husband or father could break the nadarim. Maybe that's only if it's l'tzarich Shabbos. If it's not l'tzarich Shabbos, maybe you can't do it. That's the question. It's Tashma on the 4th line on Ayin Zayin. The Tani Rav Zuti Debei Rav Papi. The Rashi gives seems to be Rav Dimi. But in any case, Rav Zuti learned in the Siva of Rav Papi. Ein mafir nadarim el tzarich Shabbos. Says no. You could even have hafaras nadarim, or a husband or a father can only do it on tzarich Shabbos, which seems to indicate that if she makes a neder on Shabbos and he heard about it on Shabbos, but it's not tzarich Shabbos, he can't break it at all. The only solution is go to the rabbi. Amar Avashi, halot tanan. Our Mishnah didn't say that. Why? Halot tanachi. Our Mishnah didn't say that because our Mishnah said nadra im chashecha meifalot shalotach. Our Mishnah said if she makes the neder on Shabbos, shalosh shudas time, when Shabbos is almost over, im chashecha as it's getting dark, he can only break it until it gets dark. It's about to get dark. She made the neder right before Shabbos is over. He can only break it till then. Now, if she made a neder right before Shabbos, it wasn't l'tzarich Shabbos. It's not about her jewelry or about the food. Shabbos is almost over, so it's not necessary for Shabbos. It's not going to the neder isn't going to affect Shabbos at all. So Amar Avashi Alo Tanochi, notice im chashecha meifaloi, you can still break it. If you say you can only break the nadarim that are l'tzarich Shabbos, why do you talk about if it gets dark, it's too late? Also, if you're talking about a neder that doesn't affect Shabbos, it's right. So what difference does it make if she made the neder at the end of Shabbos, she made the neder in the middle of Shabbos, it doesn't affect Shabbos, he can't break it anyway. He only break the Nadarim if it's low. Why do you talk about chashcha? It says, Mishnah says, remember that whole verbose loshim. Nadra im chashecha, meifrat shlo tachshim chashcha below hefer ein yachal. If it gets dark and he didn't break it, he can't break it anymore. Why talk about a neder that she made right at the end of Shabbos, which she doesn't affect Shabbos, and say you can still break it anyway? If you can only break Nadarim which shel tzarach Shabbos, why talk about this one which is clearly shel tzarach Shabbos? Yom tzarach Shabbos saying shel tzarach lo. Ma'ir chashcha feel b'toch yom ein yochal. If you can't break it shel tzarach because it gives the shel tzarach. It's not tzarach Shabbos. So the fact that you talk about she made a neder as it's getting dark, indicating that it's not l'tzarach Shabbos because Shabbos is over already. So whatever neder is not going to really affect Shabbos. Still, he says you could break it. So Shabbos ain't low. Why talk about chashka where it's clearly shalol tzarach Shabbos? Talk about even any neder that she makes, even if it's on Shabbos, and say I feel b'toch hayom. Ma'ir chashka I feel b'toch hayom. Also ein yachal lehefer the shalol tzarachu can't break it no matter what if it's shalol tzarach Shabbos. That's what the Ran explains. Rashi explains it a little bit more in detail, but the Ran on the left side says she made an error as it's Shabbos is exiting. My tzarach Shabbos yesh b'hafarasa. Elavade I feel shalom tzarach meifel bisha is man over. Ukiritarishim chash v'loy for shubin yachalei for k'maskim put down my employee. So the proof that we bought from Abzuti the Beira Puppy was that even a husband can only bake a neder, which is l'tzarach Shabbos. He can only cancel a neder hafaras adarim only l'tzarach Shabbos. My mission is not nashma otherwise. The Gemara says, Tano, it's machlokas Tanam. What's machlokas Tanam? It's the same as machlokas Tanam that we learned yesterday. I'll tell it to you outside first. Yesterday we had a machlokas. When is hafara? How long? When he hears about the neder, how long does he have? Does he have till sundown? That's usually the time that they give you to get out of town. Till sundown, no matter when that is. Meaning, if you made a neder on Thursday night, you only have till Shabbos starts, till sundown on Friday. Or if you made the neder right before sundown on Friday, you still only have till sundown. That's the machlokas. Or do you have 24 hours, right? That was the machlokas we had yesterday. So it depends on the machlokas. What's the machlokas? How far is the darm kol hayom? But we said yesterday, the Gemara said first darm kol hayom. Rav Shimon, those two rabbis, that zug, that pair of rabbis said, Amu mei slays. You have 24 hours. Laman darm kol hayom and tfeilo. The one who says you only have that day, no more. I feel short. If you couldn't break this neder, if it's Shalom Tzarach Shabbos and you heard about it on Shabbos afternoon, she made it at a Shal Shudas time, and you heard about it, and it doesn't affect Shabbos at all. If you can't break it, now you'll never be able to break it, right? Because once the day is over, that's it. So if you say you can only break it that day, so you can even break the Dam Shalom Tzarach Shabbos, because otherwise you'll never get a chance to break it. So again, I feel Shalom Tzarach Shabbos made. The mandor me'eslay. So one says you got 24 hours. Okay, if she made the neder Shalosh Shudas time on Shabbos, and it doesn't affect Shabbos, because obviously Shabbos is over shortly. So make it the next day. You have 24 hours. So according to him, you can't break it. You can only break. So here's the point: that can clearly hataras nadarim by she'elas chacham when you go. That's only can only do it on Shabbos if it's l'tzarach Shabbos. If not so Shabbos, wait, do it during the week. What about a farce nadarim, where the husband only has the ability to break it that day? So if she made the neder and he heard about it on Shabbos, either he breaks it today, or that's it. He doesn't have a chance to break it anymore. So if he can only break it today till sundown, he can break the nadarim even if they're not necessary, even if it doesn't affect Shabbos. The neder itself doesn't affect Shabbos. If though you have 24 hours, so you'll say no, don't break it on Shabbos. If it doesn't affect Shabbos, break it the next day. So that's again Tanohi. The one who says that you have all day that day till sundown. Ain't low. I feel Shabbos maybe you can make because otherwise you won't get a chance to do it after Shabbos. The one who says you got 24 hours. Then let's Shabbos ain't so you can only have break on Shabbos that affects Shabbos. If it doesn't affect Shabbos, so wait till the next day and break it the next day. And that Brisa said, or the Mishnah said, it says. Hataras Nadarim, you could be mater neder, go to the rabbi, only if it affects Shabbos. If a man has a neder on him, let's say he forbade himself from eating cholent, and now he's going to somebody's house, going to the Kiddush club or someplace where they're having cholent, and he has to get a Tarsadar. So let's say man made a neder. There's no wife or no daughter or whatever. It's a Tarsam. Can he be shown a neder? Well, the rabbi could go if it's Tzorch Shabbos because he needs to eat the shalom today, not tomorrow. So Tzorch Shabbos Iboilu Ksheloyalam Tnai. Maybe this that we allow Hataras Nadarim for something that affects Shabbos. You could do Hataras Nadarim on Shabbos if it affects Shabbos. Maybe that's only when they didn't get a chance to do it before Shabbos. It wasn't his fault. He may, Medner was right before Shabbos. He didn't get a chance to go to the rabbi before Shabbos. So can he break it on Shabbos if it affects Shabbos? That's what he said. He could break it on Shabbos. Or Dilma, he had time. Yeah, he could have gone to the rabbi on Thursday or Friday, but he didn't. He could still break the neder on Shabbos since it affects Shabbos. That's the question that we're raising over here. Not break the neder about a tarsadar, being shown on the neder. Tashma, we'll bring a proof from a story. This is the Kiku le Rabbanim le Braid Rav Zutra Braid Rav Zeiri. The rabbis attended to the son of Rav Zutra, the son of Rav Zeira, meaning they gave him a hearing to break his ned, to be matar and darim. Even on a darim that he could have gone to the rabbis before Shabbos started. He could have gone on Friday and he didn't bother. He could still break it on Shabbos. Sub Rav Yosef Meimer Nishon LaDarim b'Shabbos b'Yachad Mumcha. Okay, this that we say that you can break in that you can be matar neder, shor l'chacham. You can be matar neder, and she'el chacham meaning you ask the rabbi to be matar neder for you. That's what we say she'elas and nishon l'darim l'chacham. That you take the neder to the chacham. He could do it even on Shabbos, even and only if it affects Shabbos. Even if there was time to do it before, but it affects Shabbos, the shalom, let's say, or something related to Shabbos, or davening, or whatever it was, something related to Shabbos. You can break in the door. You can go to the rabbi on Shabbos, even if there was time to do it before Shabbos, but it affects Shabbos. So Rav Yosef said maybe that's only b'yachad mumcha, only if an individual rabbi is going to be matar neder. The shlosha yotis law, but not with three. If you have to go to three guys, even if they're three at yotis, remember you could either use yachad mumcha, either one rabbi who is a musmach, or three regular guys like we do every year. You just take any three guys in the shul and do it that way. So he said, maybe this that we say you're allowed to on Shabbos is only if it's a Yachad Mumcha, but if it's three, no good. Why? Because that already looks like Bezdin, and Bezdin's, you don't set up Bezdin on Shabbos. So it looks like you're going to a court, right? That's what it looks like. So no, the common ain't done on Shabbos. We don't, Bezdin doesn't sit on Shabbos. So it looks like a bezin, so don't do it with a bezin. I'm going to buy no. Keep the sphere, and since we hold afilu mu'ubit, that you can break a rabbi can be matar neder even if he's standing. In other words, he's not even sitting and judging it carefully, just standing. He's like middle of getting a coffee or a cigarette. Afilu mu'ubit, afilu b'krov. We could even do it for relatives, and we have that issue every year. You're allowed to break so even relatives. Afilu b'layla, even at night when the bezin doesn't sit. Lamas Chazik, it doesn't look like it then anyway, because even if you get three guys, it could be relatives, it could be at night, they could be standing around, so it doesn't look like a bezin anyway. Amar of Abba, Amar of Fun Amarav. Halacha, the halacha is mafir nedarim b'layla. You can break nedarim at night. Now, what do you mean break? Mafir means the husband or the father, right? Because that's hafara. Aiva maslisini, that's a Mishnah. Our Mishnah says notra b'leila Shabbos. We already said she made a neder on night of Shabbos. Right? Till when does he have to break the neder? Till Shalosh Shudas, the next day, till sundown, right? Because it's the same day. Friday night is the same day as Shabbos, so he has all day. So that's our Mishnah. What does Rav Huna Marav teach me? You can break a neder at night. That's our Mishnah. Elema halach is nish'olen b'layla. You could even go to a rabbi to be matrat, even though a rabbi is sort of like a bezdin, but it's not like a bezdin. We just said you can do it standing, relatives, even at night. Halach nish'olen b'layla. Amalei Rav Abba Rav Huna. Amar Rav Hachi, did Rav really say that? Notice the quote. We have Rav Abba said it in the name of Rav Huna, in the name of Rav, that Rav said, the halachas you can be shoel on a neder, go to a tam chacham even at night. So Rav Abba said to Rav Huna, did Rav really say that? Amalei ishtik. So the way the Ran's preferred girsa is that Amalei ishtik, he said, no, when we said this in front of Rav, he was quiet. Rav didn't say it. We didn't hear Rav's words. We just said it and Rav was quiet. So Amalei, so Rav said, ishtik kamer, o shasi kamer. Was he saying ishtik quiet in the sense that he didn't agree? Like a guy goes, oh yeah, like he was quiet and he made a face like he doesn't agree. Oh, shasi kamer, or ishtik like That's a good line. Here, let's drink to that. Good. What you said is good. Here, have a cup of wine, like confirming what he said. Amar Avika Baravan is here's the proof. Is Dakikle Rav himself attended to the Nadarim. In other words, he was Matar Neder L'Rabba to Rabba B'Kituna de Beirav in a room in the base medrash. So you see, and how did he do it? Omei was standing, Yachidi individually, Ubalayla. So apparently he did it even at night. Now, the issue here was we weren't talking about on Shabbos. Shabbos we addressed already. We were talking about can you do it at night? So he says Rav himself. In other words, you have a question. Did Rav agree to it when Rav was quiet? Was he maybe making a face as if to say I don't agree with it? Or was he agreeing with it? Well, here's the case of Rav himself was Matar Neder for somebody, for who was it? For Rabbah in a room in the base medrash while he was standing alone, not with two other rabbis, at night. So there's your proof. Amar Rabbah Amar Nachman, or it gives them Rabbah Amar Nachman. Halacha nishal. The halacha is that you can be shol on a neder, meaning the rabbi who's Matar Neder, Omed, even if he's standing, Yachidi, even if he's an individual, Yachid Mumcha, Uva Laila, Uva Shabbos, Uva Krovim, all these things, etc. Because Atar Sadarma is an easy thing. It's not a real bezdin. He could be standing, he doesn't have to be sitting and thinking about it. He could be alone, he could be at night, it could be Shabbos, even relatives. As we said before, even if there was time to do it on Shabbos, he could have done it before Shabbos, still he could break it on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Omi, you can really do it while you're standing. By Tanya, we learn, Yared Rabbi Gamliel Marachamor, Gamliel got off his donkey that was riding him in the Satv, and he wrapped himself up as if to say, taking it very seriously. The Yashav, and he sat, the Hitler Nidro, and he was Matar Neder. So you see that he didn't do it while he was standing or riding on a donkey or whatever. He got off the donkey and he sat down, he wrapped himself up and thought about it very carefully. So it's mashma, you can't do it just standing up. The answer is Gamliel Savar. Now here we get to a Girsa issue. I'm going to learn like the Ran, Rashi and the other Rishonim learn differently, but the Ran learns Gamliel Savar that ain't poschin b'charata. Remember we talked about before. How does a rabbi find a heter? He says, had you known this and this, had you thought about it carefully, oh yeah, I wouldn't have done it. Or is it a simple thing? I regret what I did. What is very simple. When Leah holds ain't poschin b'charata, you just can't say, I regret what I did. That's not good enough. The rabbi has to look into the situation, what were the circumstances, and ask him, figure out a way to be Matar Neder by saying, well, had you thought of this and this and this and these circumstances and these hashlachot, what's the word? These implications, right? These implications, pardon? The consequences, yeah. These consequences, had you would have made it? No, I wouldn't have done it. So he's got to think about it carefully. So Gamliel said, you got to think about it carefully. Then he had to get off the horse or off the donkey and sit down and wrap himself up. So Gamliel Savar ain't poschin b'charata. Me'akar nidr, you have to really uproot the netter and think about it. It needs to agree. So boy units got to be checked into. You got to look at it carefully. That's why he sat down. But Rav Nachman, who said the halacha, we had Amar Rav Nachman, halacha nishal dam omeid yechidi balayla b'Shabbos of Rav Nachman Savar poschin b'charata. You see, changing the girsa. Poschin b'charata, that what we do also charata. In other words, you could just say you regret it, so you don't need that much thinking about it. Why you say, oh, you have a netter? Yeah, you regret it? Okay, you're done. That's how he learns. I feel a moment even while you're standing. Rashi learns the other way around. The Pirush or the Rashi learns the other way around. The Bach also seems to have it the other way around. And they say that, that the idea is that Gamliel Savar poschin charata, but you have to think about it. In other words, do you regret what you did? No, why do you regret what you did? Why do you regret it? Do you realize these were the consequences? Would you have made it? And that takes more thinking. That's what's going on. And if you hold Rav Nachman ain't poschin b'charata, but rather only you don't start looking for excuses for why he regrets it. Rather, if he comes and says I regret it, that's good enough. Right? You don't have to start thinking about it. So Rav Nachman says poschin b'charata. The guy says he lower beferish b'charitna sharidin lei v'lo boy iyud. It doesn't need a lot. Below Omar beferish b'charitna sharidin lei v'lo boy iyud. It doesn't have to look into it too carefully. That's how he understands. Therefore, poschin b'charata. Either way, Rav Nachman, you didn't have to look at it too carefully. Therefore, you could have eaten the standing up. Gamliel says, no, you got to look at it very carefully, as we've explained. Amalei, Rav Nachman. Rav said to Rav Nachman a new thing here. Chazimar, look, sir. Heimer, look at this rabbi. The Osmer Rabbi came from Eretz Yisrael. My Rav is Eretz Yisrael, the west of Bavel. So look at this rabbi. Ba'amar, and he tells us a story. There's the Kikule Rabbanan, that the rabbis gave a hearing. They attended to the braid Rav Huna bar Avin, to the son of Rav Huna who had made a neder. Visharu le nidrein, they were mater's neder. Ba'amar, they told him, Zilu boy rachmei. Okay, we're mater neder, and now go pray, boy rachmei, pray for forgiveness, pray for mercy on nafshach, the chatasa, because you sinned. Because we are mater neder. The neder is mutter. You're not violating neder anymore, but go pray for a real absolution because you made a neder. Even though we're mater the neder, but you have to pray for forgiveness because you made a neder. The tiny Rav Dimi, after Rav Safra, Rav Dimi, the brother of Rav Safra, learned like this. Kol anoder, whoever makes it, we had this more before. I'll call another afbishim mekaymo, make a neder, even though you fulfilled the neder, you vowed that you're going to do something, you did it, whether it's a neder or a shvua. Nikachot, you're called a sinner, and if you're not supposed to sin, we just said, you shouldn't swear. And even if you fulfill it, even if you oblige your neder, you'll fulfill it 100%. You still say, micro. Where does he in Pasuk? Pasuk says, "V'chi sechta lindor," right? Motzas v'secha tishma v'sis v'chi sechta. And then if you stop, once you stop making neder, then lo yibachachay, right? If you stop making an nedarim, you won't have any more sins. Mashma, that if you don't stop, you will have sins, right? That if you make a neder, you're sinning because you made a neder. That's all you need. What does the Pasuk say? It's not the pasuk. Must is the next pasuk. Pasuk says in Perek Chav Gimel pasuk Chav Beis, right? This is in Dvarim. Make an neder. Don't delay in fulfilling it. Hashem is going to seek it from you. If you stop making neder, since you made the neder, right? If you don't make any nedarim, there's no sin. But if you made neder, there's a sin. So there is a sin over here. He's just telling you a story that even though we're mater neder and we're makel, you can mater neder with a yachid standing alone. We already said yachid. It's at night on Shabbos and even relatives. But you know what? We're mater neder that way, but you're still a sinner for making a neder. Now a new piece. Tanya. Listen carefully. And as we're going to explain in a few minutes, that when it comes to be breaking a neder, you have to say it's broken. How does a husband or a father break a neder? Mufa lecha, it's broken. It's very good. You got to say it's broken. It's canceled. Okay. Let's say he tells her, Tanya, kol nedarim shetaduri, any nedarim that you're going to make, EFC, I don't want them. EFC shit, I don't want them, you make a neder. Or he says, ain't a neder. That's not a neder. Lo makom, that's meaningless. Now, the Rani is one shot that this is also talking about Hakamas Nedarim. What do you mean? Confirming it. What do you mean? The first part, we just said, all the Nedarim that you're going to make, or I don't want you to make any Nedarim, or it's not another, that's going on the future. Any Nedarim that you made until that you're going to make, I don't want them to be Nedarim. Mashma, that the Nedarim you made in the past, I do confirm. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. Because he didn't really say it. Yafa sees it. Let's say he says, "Oh, you've done good," or "Ein kamoscha." Wow, that was great. Nobody's like you. That's wonderful. No, you're Ein kamoscha. Or Imlo nadarta madiracha ani. Or if you hadn't made this netter, I would have made that netter for you. If he said any of those lashonas, dvarav kayam, then it is a kama. So according to the first chapter in the Ran, the first phrase where it says Lomer Klum is because he didn't really say he's being Mekayim that. He's saying, all that you make in the future, I don't want them. Mashma, the ones in the past, you are good. No, that's not good. But if you see any kind of Lashon indicating that you confirm it, that you're happy with the netter, for example, good job. Made a netter, great, wonderful. Or nobody's like you. Or had you not made the netter, I would have made it, then it is Kayam. But the Ran's preferred shot, right? The Ran's preferred shot, the Ran here is as the lines are about to get wide on the right side. Mandi Arslay first the price Achi. Ha'omer le'ishto b'nadam she'avru. Nedarim that were done already. EFC shit to do. I don't want them. From the EFC ban. That's meaningless. That's not a way to break an eder. Why? The ba'afarim, first of the wide lines in the Ran, in the middle there. The ba'afar lashon mafurshba. You got to say mufalacha. V'chik tani kondam shetaduri asad makam avaru. What do you mean? She made a neder, and you say, I don't want any nedarim that you're going to make. When are you going to make? You're talking about the ones in the past. You can't break the netter's got to, when you break the net, it's got to be very clear. He hears the netter and he says it's broken. I heard what you said, broken. Can't say after she made a netter, well, any of them you're going to make, I don't want them. You're speaking future, mixing of future and past. We should have died to come up. Ashkan too with the classic. Dafka, or maybe he's talking about ones that you're going to make in the future. Goes according to Rebbe. Remember, Rebbe said before, even though you can't be Mekayim at it, she didn't make it. He says, I'm going out of town. And any drum you make, I mean, that doesn't work. Any drum that you make, I'm going to break. Rebbe says it does work. Yeah, we had that yesterday and the day before, right? That Chum say you can't break it yet because if you can't be Mekayim, you can't break it. Isha yikimenu, Isha yifranu, right? Isha yikimenu, Isha yifranu. That's the Chacham. Rebbe holds you could. Listen, if you could break Nedarim after they're made, you could certainly prevent them from happening in the first place. And we said, Mamish happening, they can't start at all. So maybe it's according to Rebbe, but still, it's no good. So it could be that, yes, the first part of this price at Tanya Homelishto Kondam Shitaduri that you're going to make, either you're talking about the past and then your Lashon is not good because you said that you're going to make, or Ein Zen Neder, that's no good because it wasn't clear. What you're saying isn't clear. It's not a clear breaking. Ein Zen Neder. It is a Neder. You have to break it. It's got to be the need about four Lashon first, but Hakama, you don't need that. But in the latter part of the price, where he says she makes an Neder, and he doesn't say, I confirm. He just says, good job, love you, wonderful, nobody's like you. Had you made this Neder, had you not made it, I would have made it. All those are confirmations. They're good. Why are they good confirmations? Says the Ran in the third of the wide lines of the Ran. But near Be'enai, the time of the mill, so the keeping the time of the command, the Gemara is going to say later on, the day after tomorrow, the top of the page there says that if you're Mekayim and Neder in your heart, that's good enough. If you're Mekayim, you confirm in your heart. You heard it about it. Don't forget, you could just be quiet for a day. You could say nothing for a day. But if he's Mekayim in his heart, that's good enough. However, Hafara Belibo is not good enough. Hafara Belibo is not good enough. You just can't break. You got to say something. Okay. It says the mills of the so near Van says the Ran, those the keep in the time that come on Kaim Belibo Kayim, Lo Gori Hani Lishne, Mi Kaim Belibo. These kind of lashons of you're wonderful, I love you, nobody's like you, you did a great job. Had you done it, then I would have made it no worse than being Mekayim in his heart. It doesn't worse than that. Aval Bafara. But by far, keeping the Kaimlan Hafar Belibo ain't a mufar. Since we say Hafara in your heart isn't good enough, you got to say something. It's got to be Lashon Barur, and that's like Lashon of Mufar L'cha. Okay, that's as far as the Ran goes. Now we're back in the Gemara. And the Gemara, we're now at the first of the wide lines. Okay, first of the wide lines in the Gemara. Lo yomer lishto b'Shabbos. The person should not say to his wife on Shabbos. We learned before, can you break Nedarim on Shabbos? Yes, yes. Everybody agrees you can break Nedarim on Shabbos, except the one who says what? The one who says that you can only break Nedarim that day till sundown, not 24 hours, only that day. You can break all the Nedarim on Shabbos, whether it affects Shabbos or not. The one who says you got 24 hours, you can only break it on Shabbos if it affects Shabbos. You can't wait till Sunday. It's affecting Shabbos. She's not going to be able to eat shalosh shudas. She forbade herself from eating gefilte fish or herring, whatever they eat at shalosh shudas time, and it's going to affect. Even though she made the neder right before shalosh shudas, and he has 24 hours to break it, but it affects Shabbos, he can break Shabbos. So everybody agrees that there are circumstances you can break that on Shabbos. But the Gemara is now saying, how should you break that on Shabbos? On Shabbos, don't break it in the way you do it in the weekdays. Don't do it in the normal way you do it, which is, it's broke, I'm canceling it, it's annulled. That's the lashon of hafara. You break it, you cancel it. It's broken. It's annulled. The way you say it in the chol. You should in Shabbos do differently. Listen. You could say she forbade herself from eating herring. He says, listen, have some herring. I heard what you said. Have some herring. What was he doing? He was saying, eating it in his heart, he was breaking it, but he didn't say it the lashon of it. But he should say it like in a nice way. Don't say it's broken on Shabbos. Use a nicer lashon on Shabbos. You shouldn't use the same lashon you use during the week. Say, pick it up and eat it. V'haneder batal, the neder batal by itself automatically, that's good enough. Amar B'Yochanan, v'tzorch shivato b'libo, but you have to break it in your heart. In other words, he says, pick it up, eat the food, and he breaks in his heart. Tanya b'shami omer b'shabbos mevato b'libo, and Shabbos he's mevato in his heart. B'chol motz misas, during the weekdays he has to say it. Either way, b'libo you're mevato. Now, vein tzarich lo tzibusas, he doesn't have to say b'feverish mufar l'cha batal l'cha. It's enough batal l'cha. So this seems to contradict, though, what we just said. We've said before, hakama you could believe is good enough. Hafara believe is not good enough. The top of ayin tes, if you turn the page, the ayin tes in the second line there, on ayin tes says kaim belibo kaim, hafar belibo ain't a mufar, right? And that's the halacha that hafar belibo mut. So we just said that if you break in your heart, it's not good enough. And here we said, Basil says, echazev mavato belibo. Either way you could. That's the kasha that the Ran mentions over here. And the Ran goes on to say, Valav Kushya, right? And take a look at the Ran, 8 lines from the bottom of the page in the Ran. Valav Kushyu. When he says it's not broken. In other words, if he just breaks it in his heart without saying anything, that's not good enough. But if he says on Shabbos, you just said your herring is forbidden to you, pick up, have some herring, have a little wine with the herring, have a little schnapps with it, wash it down. That's okay. And he breaks it in his heart because it's not breaking his heart alone. He's saying something. If he said twi, then the bit believe mami, bit believe. In other words, the Gemara is going to say later on, hakama believe if he didn't say a word, that's good enough. Hafar believe is not good enough. He can't break it. But if he said something, if he said the favorish mufar l'cha or batal l'cha, that's for sure good. But even if he just said like pick it up and eat it, that's good enough because it helps. So the the things we said before the lines got wide in the Gemara, when he said, I don't want it to be a netter, or this is not a net, that's not good enough. Lo manit fei other bit of blade, a bit of blade does help. Once he said flee, that does help. And if he wasn't mabatal in his heart and he just said a lashon garua, like it's not a netter, or ain't a netter, or I don't want it to be a netter, that's a lashon garua. That's not clear. But if he said something clearly, pick it up and eat it, and in his heart he was mabatal, the Ran explains that together those things are good enough. Now the Gemara goes on. Back in the Gemara, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Amar B'Yochanan, Chacham she'amar b'lashon Baal, Baal she'amar b'lashon Chacham lo m'kom. As we've explained, Tama Chacham is matter the netter. He unbinds it, he annuls it so that it never existed. So yes, in Eretz Yisrael they said, you made a netter, you should beg mercy for that because you're a sinner. You're not going to get a punishment from Bezdin because he was mater netter, right? A guy made a netter, or a woman made a netter, and afterwards the husband broke it. Or let's take the case of our Tarsadam where he annulled it so it was never chal, even though he was open. But I made a netter, I'm not going to eat oranges, and he ate an orange. Then he goes to the rabbi, and the rabbi's mater. He says, hey, you were going to get scurvy or something like that. Would you have made that? No, I wouldn't have. So he's okra the whole netter, and then he's not going to get punished. They're not going to give him malchus for being over on the netter of lo yachol baro because it was never a netter. But still, he needs a kapara, says the rabbi from Eretz Yisrael, because it says he's a sinner. He's sechta linda. If you stop, then lo yabachachet. Otherwise, he has a sin in some form. In any case, we said that atar sadarim is that's how the rabbi's matri says mutter l'cha, it's mutter, it's not a netter. How does a baal break a netter? Mufar l'cha, it's broken, or batal lach, or mufar l'chi in Aramaic, right? So chacham shema, let's say the chacham says lashon of baal, baal shema lashon chacham lo meklum. Even though we have throughout the Gemara, throughout Shas, many times you have a forest, the dharma referring to the rabbi, and a tarsadam referring to the wife. Usually it's a forest Nadarm referring to both. But technically, a forest Nadarm is the husband or the father, Tarsadam is the rabbi. But the way they're matter, that it has to work the way that Tanya, as we learn, Zeh Dabar. Pasuk says at the beginning of Midrash, how does matter start? Zeh Dabar, HaChacham matter, and it's got to be this way. Even though, as we said before, Hafaras Nadarm that a husband or father does is very clear. There's a whole parsha about that, right? If a father hears a netter, the husband hears the netter, he break basically shadadara, v'hafarla, v'heini aviosa, v'shama isha, v'hechrishla. That's all very clear about what a husband or a father does. The husband, a regular netter that a taras Nadarm is not so clear. But we learn out of a drasha. Zeh adavar, hachacham mater, hachacham is mater, bein a baal mater. Sheikh, you might think if a chacham shein a mefer, a chacham cannot break it going forward. He doesn't break it going forward, but he can be mater, baal shemefer, if he can break it in a din shemater. If he has a power to break it, and breaking means without a svar, you might say, listen, I'm a chacham who can't break it without a taurus, without a svara, without a excuse, a petach. A chacham can't do it, but he can be mater with an excuse. Baal, who has the power to break it without any reasoning, he just breaks it on his own just because he feels like it. Shouldn't he should be able to mater with a reason? Tam malom no. Zeh adavar at the top of zeh adavar. This is the rule. Chacham is mater, ain't a baal mater. In other words, zeh adavar is right at the beginning of the parsha about the baal being mefer. That's the husband could do it that way. The chacham does it a different way. He's mater. Tan Yidach, another brayso says the opposite. Zeh adavar. Again, the same halacha comes out, but the svar is the opposite. Zeh adavar, baal mefer, like it says in this parsha, the husband breaks it, cancels it going forward. Bein chacham mefer. The chacham cannot break it. Sheikh, you might think the other way around. Ma baal sheina mater. The husband cannot mater it, cannot annul it l'mafreya. Mefer, but he could break it going forward. Chacham shemater. Chacham was the power to annul it entirely, so that it never existed. He knows it going backwards retroactively. Ain't a din shemay. Certainly should be able to break going forward. Tamalum, no, he can't do that. He can't break it. He can find a pesach amimata. Tamalum b'zeh adavar. Baal mefer, bein chacham mefer. The husband can break it without any excuse, but the chacham cannot break it unless an excuse petach. And the Ran says on the last two lines on Amid Beis, in the wide lines, Amar Bechna chacham she'amar b'lashon baal, tahanu mufelecha, u'baal she'amar b'lashon chacham she'amar mutelecha. Right? Lashon baal mefurish v'ukasa. The pasuk says what he has to say. Hey, fair. Tahanu lashon afara. Well, and I guess batil is like hafara also. Lashon chachamim davi mutelecha. Mashma. How does he know it's mashma? It says lo yachal dvaro. If you ish kisi or neder Hashem lo yachal dvaro, he can't break his words. Klamer lo yachal dvaro. We shouldn't make it profane. V'darshina and avalachem mochlim. But other people, the rabbis could be mochlim, could make it into chulin. They make it profane, they make it secular. Something which is chulin, say mutter, it's chulin, it's a mutter, it's very simple, it's permitted to you. That's all you have to say. That's the lashon of a Talmud Chacham. A person can't break his own matter, but somebody else could by making it into nothing, by saying it's mutter. And then the Ran goes on the top of Ayin Ches on the left side in the Ran, he goes on to say, in other words, a chacham can either say, we said it's very clear, a husband has to say mufalacha or batal lach. We also said the Gemara, on Shabbos he could say, eat the herring, eat the wine, drink the wine. He could just say that as long as he breaks it in his heart. Okay. A chacham though has to say mutalacha, right? Like we say mutalacha. Shabbos mashma that they can also say the chacham nami matzi amar. This fits in with our hatar sadarim. How does he say? Ein kan neder, ein kan shvua, right? We say that, right? The Garas Hasan Baal Shomer B'Lashon Chacham, B'Chacham Shomer B'Lashon Baal Lo Omer Klum, like we just had. Elazeh Omer Kilchas. Each one is going to say it. Habal Omer Mufalecha, B'Hazokin Omer ein kan neder, ein kan shvua. It doesn't say like Quran says over here. Mufalecha ein kan neder shvua. Lefize Mashmali the Lisha the Mefer Shach Mikan Be'elch. Breaking it, it's like canceling it. I'm canceling it going forward. Shach Mikan Be'elch. That it was mutter, that it was totally permitted from the beginning. He annuls it. All right. Then he brings the Gemara on the fifth line on Ayin Chesim and Alpha, where we're going to pick it up from tomorrow. Brings down another brisa. Nemerkan Zeh Davar. That pasuk about Zeh Davar brings down another brisa, but with the Gzera Shava that we'll just talk about tomorrow. Mitzvah. Have a good day.
Wonder if the lashon of our person came before the Ran or after.
It sounds like it's both. Mutalacha, ain't kind of. We say everything.
I'm saying from the start, whether our lashon was drafted.
No, it's probably drafted
or after the Ran.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.